Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to this week's Other Side of the Struggle, Betrayal Trauma Coaching with Erin Anderson. And so last week we talked about forgiveness. If you didn't listen to that one, definitely go check it out. That's one of my favorite topics, is forgiveness and how forgiveness works. It's really a beautiful, beautiful thing. And, you know, there's a really good chance that if you believe the world's view of forgiveness, you definitely don't know what forgiveness is. And so I would definitely encourage you to go check out last week's podcast. But this week, we are talking about joy. And this is also another one of my favorite topics. I really, really love talking about joy because it's so precious. It's something that everybody is seeking in this life. Everybody wants more. But yet, oftentimes we find ourselves in complete misery. Like, if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you've been dealing with trauma in your life, and you probably have understood the misery that trauma can cause. And so, I definitely want to get talking about this, but I think I'm going to start off with a story of two brothers. And both brothers were given an inheritance, a really big, very large inheritance, okay? That they felt like they had some freedom now. They could go and do something with what they had been given. The one brother decided to take his inheritance to the gambling tables. He figured that he could definitely get more if he gambled it away. He could gamble and get large sums quickly back. And sometimes that happened. But pretty soon, he found as he continued to gamble it away and gamble and gamble and gamble, it all left him. And he was left with absolutely nothing. However, the second brother decided to take his inheritance and he decided to invest it. He bought gold and silver because he knew that gold and silver had value, and he placed some of it in a safe deposit box at the bank, where it was under lock and key. He put some of it in investments like real estate, education, and other investments that would bring him a rate of return on his investment. Which brother ended up having more at the end? Obviously the second brother, right? One day, as he was walking down the street, he saw his brother, who he hadn't seen in a long time because the brother gambled away his inheritance and he didn't have anything left. He was living on the streets. And the brother stopped and he said, "Oh my goodness, let me help you." And so he bought the brother a meal. But the first brother, was angry at the second one. "You shouldn't be able to have your inheritance if mine is all gone," he thought. And so he yelled, "How dare you? How dare you? How can you possibly have more than me? That's not fair. You took it all away from me. You took it." And the second brother, felt bad. So he gave the first brother more. Well, the first brother demanded more from his brother and kept demanding and kept demanding and kept demanding. And eventually the second brother was left with nothing. And what does the first brother do? Went to the gambling tables and gambled it all away again. Well, that's not a very fun story, you might be thinking. That's kind of a story that, has a very tragic ending. Both brothers were left with absolutely nothing. But there's a point to this story, and we can change the way it ends. Absolutely. But you have to understand the parable and the point first. We often treat joy similar to the way these two brothers have done. Joy is our inheritance. If you have ever read scripture, God has said that my purpose is to bring to pass the immortality and eternal life of man. Their joy is my purpose. Men are that they might have joy. Ever heard of that one? Joy is your inheritance. We were all sent here with his measure of joy. Now, we get here, and similar to the first brother in the story, we have people that rail against us, we have people that mistreat us, we have people that are cruel, and that's a large part of what they say. They see our joy, and they're like, "I want what she has," and so they try to steal it from us. Or they try to guilt trip us into giving it away. And oftentimes, we do. How often, if you're in trauma, how often have you considered or thought to yourself, "Oh, maybe if I did things their way," or maybe if you're a wife of a husband who deals with addiction, maybe you're a child of a parent who you're still seeking for approval from. I mean, there's so many ways that trauma hits us in relationships. There's not a single relationship on this earth that is free from trauma. There's just not. It's not possible. But how often have we caught ourselves thinking, maybe if I was skinnier and looked more like the models in the things that he's watching, maybe, just maybe, he would love me more. And so we spend all of our time and energy on trying to look like that. And when we can't ever achieve airbrushedness, not saying you don't look good, but I'm just saying a lot of that is fake. So because you're a real person, you're trying to be fake. Does that make sense? And so you try to achieve something that's not real, something that's fake, and it hurts. You find yourself without joy. Interesting. You had it before, now you don't. You've gambled it away. Or you've given it away to somebody who's going to gamble it. Or say that you're a child of a parent who never really saw you and never acknowledged who you were. Maybe you might be thinking to yourself, if I just clean the house more, they would love me. If I could get perfect grades, then they would love me. If I was a better person, they would love me. If I was perfect, maybe they would love me. See, the thing is in this world we're taught that we have to trade joy for love. And it's not true. Oh, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Because the thing is joy is love. And when you place joy with love, true love, then when you place joy with true love, then it expounds, it grows more. You have now invested it. But when you give your joy away, expecting love to be returned to you when somebody is in the pits of misery, you are basically giving someone something extremely valuable only to have them turn away and gamble it, leaving you both with nothing. Similar to the story of the two brothers. And sometimes we're guilty of it. Sometimes we end up finding ourselves in so much pain and misery from the trauma and the hurt that maybe another person has left us in. That we feel like if we start claiming our joy again, that they won't understand how bad they've hurt us. And so instead of claiming our joy, we wave our pain in their face. Look how much you've hurt me! How dare you! How dare you not care? How dare you hurt me! My pain hurts. This hurts. My pain is bigger than yours, and you can't give me some of your joy? Right? We kind of have that mentality as humans. Not necessarily saying it's wrong, not necessarily saying it's right, but that's just kind of where we're at. And it's just kind of the human condition. But the truth of the matter is, let's change the story for a little bit. You know, if we go back to the story of the brothers, the turning point for the second brother was when he met the first brother back on the streets after he had gambled everything away. But let's see what happens if he instead takes his brother to dinner, buys him a meal. Hey, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And as the brother sits there and screams and yells in his face, "How dare you have more than me? You took this all away from me. You shouldn't have more than me. You're no better than me." The brother just patiently listens. And he realizes, this is my brother's misunderstanding and pain that's talking. I'm not responsible for his choices. I'm not responsible for his choices. And as the brother sits there and screams and yells, people are probably staring in the restaurant at this point. The second brother just patiently again listens. And finally, when the brother takes a breath, the second brother sits back and he says, "Is it possible that maybe you misunderstood something? Brother, you had the same opportunity as I had. You had the same opportunity to do with your inheritance that I have done with mine. If you had invested yours the way I did mine, you would be in the same situation." So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. Instead of me giving you my inheritance, which I think I'm going to keep with me for safekeeping, because I value it, would you be interested in learning how to do the same thing I've done so you can find yourself with the same thing that I have? First brother may or may not choose that. That's true. But at least the opportunity is there. The first brother now, again, has the ability to repent of his foolishness and try again. He's going to have to work a little bit harder. He might have to go find himself a job flipping hamburgers. Nobody likes that, right? But if he takes that money and he invests it, it will grow. Second brother still has his inheritance with him, still growing, gaining interest, and becoming larger and larger and larger. Our joy is the same way. Instead of us expecting someone to give us their joy, because it's theirs, they have to learn how to manage joy just the same way we do money. It's really not that different. And if we keep continuing to place our joy in the hands of somebody that isn't, and truth be told, guys, giving your joy away to anybody on this planet, they're going to be very clumsy with it. It's a whole lot like giving the $1 million vase you have to an 18-month-old toddler who's barely learning to walk. And expecting them not to drop it. It doesn't work that way. However, there is safety deposit boxes. There are ways you can invest. There are things you can do to grow your joy. Now, if you're scraping at the bottom of the barrel right now, and there's probably plenty of you that are. Again, you can't give what you don't have, right? But if you feel like you are opening your joy wallet and flies are coming out, or moths, then there's something you need to do, and it's called self-care. You have to put investment back into yourself first, so that way you can invest out. Okay? You cannot give what you do not have. Now, this is one of the biggest things that people also start saying, "Oh my gosh," to me with, because I don't have time to take myself to the spa. I don't have time to get myself a massage. I don't have time. So, okay. If that's you, continue giving it away. Go ahead. I dare you. The point is, once you invest in the right things, things return. Okay, if you're too scared to go spend money on yourself, there are plenty of things you can do to find joy. Maybe it's taking some time, go somewhere that's quiet, really quiet. I recommend cemeteries, not joking. I really, really like driving up to my local cemetery and just thinking. That's self-care. Getting the truth out. Really sitting back and saying, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Remember Truth and Lies? That's episode number 3. Go back and listen to it. But what's true? Is there a way I could think about this differently? Writing it all out, finding some peace, and a breath of fresh air. So that way there's no stress there. Maybe it's learning to draw or sing. Maybe it's going out somewhere where nobody else is and just dancing your little heart out where nobody can see you. Or maybe it's where people can see you. I don't care. Whatever works, right? But the idea is to finally start caring for yourself. That is starting to gain some traction for you to be able to give you joy and to put it in places that it will invest. So, second part of this is taking your joy and placing it somewhere where it will not be broken. Now, if you remember last week, I talked about turning the other cheek and how turning the other cheek doesn't necessarily mean that we allow somebody to continue to slap us. Not at all. Turning the other cheek means you have now switched your focus. If you continually try to give people your joy, you will find it consistently wasted and broken. However, if you focus on things like service, now granted, if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, you can't give what you don't have, so you got to serve yourself first. Then you can go out and serve other people, realizing you are a fantastic human being, right? Service is something that gives us back a return of our joy. Meditation. If you're Christian like me, I definitely hand my joy over to my Heavenly Father. I focus on Him a lot. I talk to Him a lot. Okay? Again, if you're not Christian, if you don't believe in God, then turn to your inner wisdom or whatever is bigger than you. Start writing some letters. Write down what makes you frustrated, what makes you, why you're so angry. Write it down. Sit back, stay quiet and still, and then write what you hear back. What does your inner wisdom say, or what does God say about this? You'll find some pretty cool things. Definitely a way to balance some of the pain that might be coming your way. So I hear some of you also saying, but what if there's a thief? That thief comes in and takes it all. You know what? There's actually a parable about that in the New Testament. Jesus taught about the thief in the night who sneaks in and to the person who was not being aware, stole everything he had. So part of that means that we've got to be aware of the thieves, those that want to steal our joy. Those are the people that no matter how hard you're trying to be joyful, no matter how hard you are trying to find that fantastic human being that you truly are and gain a relationship with yourself that way, they are the ones that consistently beat you down. They're usually somebody that's within your very close circles, okay? So an abusive husband, okay? That's a thief of joy. And they're going to try to steal every ounce that you have. Perhaps it's a friend that every time you try to talk to them and you tell them how great your day was, they're the ones that, well, that's dumb. Why'd you do that? Right? You know the thieves. Thieves do not belong with you. They just don't. If you have an abusive husband, I'm going to tell you right here and right now, get out. Get out and far away. You don't need to be with somebody who hurts you. If your husband maybe is intentionally trying to manipulate you, or is trying to degrade you in any way. Yeah, those usually don't change either. Not saying that it's not possible. I mean, there's Alma the Younger, there's Saul of Tarsus. I mean, there's lots of instances in the scriptures where people have changed. I'm just saying it's not super likely. And it might be best to, again, get away. But there's also unintentional abuse. Not realizing that we're being a total jerk. And we've all fallen into that trap. I know I have been intentionally oh my gosh. The word. Unintentionally abusive to my kids, to my husband. I have. And if you all step back for just a second, I'm pretty sure you can think of times in your life where you were like, oh, I was not very kind in that moment, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean you need to be isolated, cast away. It just means that you need to own your stuff and say you're sorry. Right? The people who will never own their stuff and will never, like always want to blame you for everything. Always want to throw you under the bus. Those are the people that you go, do I really want this person in my life or not? Okay? How do they react if you try to set boundaries with them? Such as, hey, you know what? You can feel how you want to feel, but I still feel like this is the better choice for me, so I'm going to take this route. They might yell and scream and throw a fit, but eventually, they calm down and they honor your choice. If that's that person, okay, they're fine to stick around. But if they are going to be constantly yelling and screaming at you, trying to distract you from joy, will never respect your boundaries, you might want to consider, is it the best thing to keep this person in my life, okay? So, anyway, joy. Place it in places where it's going to expand, where it's going to grow. Spending time with my baby, oh, that's placing it in love, and boy, does it grow. Spending time with my kids, that's placing it in love, and does it ever grow. Spending time on my clients, doing this podcast, teaching children, these are all things that, for me personally, grows my joy. And I couldn't think of a better thing to do to pass my time. Joy is worth it. Joy will lead you to love. True love. To people who will cherish you, and relationships that will cherish you as well. To people who, when you say, hey, you kind of stepped on me, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. You know? Those are the people that you want to be around. It's time to claim your joy. Time to start taking care of yourself in a manner that will return your investment. It's time to start loving yourself the way God would love you. And what a better way to return your to get a return on your investment than to place your joy in a safe deposit box with Him. He won't break it. Spend some time every day with God or your inner wisdom. And you won't regret it. Okay, guys, so we are up with Sorry, guys. But we're up with our podcast for today. And next week, maybe I think we might talk about love and ways to start finding love in your life, and possibly even a little bit about boundaries. And maybe even the next couple of weeks we'll talk about love and boundaries, because those are both topics that we could definitely go on for a while about. So come join me again next week, learn a little bit more, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna